This deck won me around $150 in prize money, maybe a little more than that, so I hope you don't mind me rounding up for the YouTube title. It's Earth Rite Runecraft, pioneered by a Tomu SV pro player. How did it happen? Well, there was a local tournament for Shadowverse Worlds Beyond, where the prize was a box of BP16 for Shadowverse Evolve, and in that box, I opened such good cards that the $10 entry fee I paid turned into like $150+ So, Earth Rite real? Let's talk about it. This video also is a bit of a different one compared to what I usually do, where I get games from my stream. What I'm going to do this time is show you replays from that tournament and try and talk through the plays. YouTube exclusive, I guess. And it's pretty interesting too because it was a best of 3 tournament, so you can't just get lucky or get high rolled. You have to win 3 full sets to become the winner of the tournament. Very, very fun, very strong players. Thank you to everybody who showed up and played with me. Let's talk about the deck. So, Earth Rite Runecraft got a lot of new tools this set, mostly Norman, who is not only the strongest card in the deck, but probably the strongest card in the entire set. It's only Earth Rite 1, and you can either summon a Guardian Golem, draw 3 cards, or restore 4, and then evolve, do it again. It's so good that even Spellboost is running it, but he's also very effective in Earth Rite itself, because all 3 of these modes are good and have a purpose. Like, against slower decks, you want to aggress them if they don't have that many good clears. The Guardian Golem just wins you the game because it's a 3/3 ward with barrier. It's hard to remove. When you need to top up your resources to draw into a Lanthem or Kuon or your other win cons like Odin, you draw 3 cards. And if you're against aggro or whatever, you can just heal yourself by a billion. And that healing is also compatible with the Sage Eye Teachings, which also has 3 modes that are also all good in this deck. Gain Earth Sigils, Restore 4, or AoE the board. Like, that's good against Sword, for example, right? We also run Odin, which is, I think, the second best card in this set. It's just banish anything and then Storm Face, so good. Kuon is still run as a win condition. He's also just like a guy that can make a big board, so it's also annoying for your opponents when you're grinding them out. And then, of course, Anangrea is still run as well, even though this is not a spell boost deck, just because it's way too good. Like, triple clear and have a ward in the way. It's way too good. We have the Tula Lanthem, which is like the new boss for Earth Rite. She does come up, only at 2 though, because she's a little slow, but in games where you think they can't remove it, the Lanthem is just a sticky threat that's always presenting you additional reach for lethal. Not good against some matchups, like for example, an Orcus single clears this, a Medusa single clears this, among others, but yeah, still pretty sick, and it gives you options for like what kind of end game you want. Do you want to build towards a Kuon end game, an Odin end game, or the Lanthem end game, right? We also got the Juno in here, which lets you make a bunch of wards, but also is just useful as a single target removal without having to send an evolve out, which is pretty cool. The wards per turn is also good against like combo decks or like decks that want to aggress you, and that's why the wards out of the Guardian Golem from Norman is also good. Enchanting Perfumer is so strong. It's like basically 3 more copies of Anangrea. A little worse than Anangrea, but also a little cheaper. Lets you deal 3 to 1 follower and then evolve, do it again, and then you also gain an Earth Sigil by doing that too. So good, especially against like the wide board meta that's currently happening with like mid-range sword aggro Abyss. Edelweiss also very good against wide boards, and it's a free evolve, free 2-for-1 clear, and you generate so many Earth Rites now, or Earth Sigils now, with all the new cards like Melvi, which adds in Witch's New Brew to your hand, and if there's a super evolved allied follower, you also gain 2 Earth Sigils. That actually does come up, like you can super evolve Norman and then Melvi on top of that, and then you refill your stacks too. Penelope also just gains 2 Earth Sigils, so super evolve on this is slightly less relevant, but in a pinch you can heal and draw and gain 2 more Earth Sigils. And then we only run 2 Astrologers here because it's probably the worst 2-drop Earth Sigil generator, but still it's fine. Also lets you like dig for your win cons, like if you have a handful of Junos, you can toss one away for the Lanthem or an Odin and hope to draw that. Of course, we just run Witch's New Brew main deck as well because it's the best Earth Sigil, like 1-cost draw card. And we also still run Stormy Blast because it's just really cheap removal. Even at the base without any spell boost, it can help against aggro Abyss, against Sword, and then if you do boost it with Kuon and Anangrea, obviously it can kill anything. So let's get into the games, shall we? It's gonna be, like I said, a different one than my usual videos, more analytical. We're gonna go over the replays of my tournament run. First game was against Ward Havencraft, which I think is not a very good deck overall in this current meta. I think it's tier 2 at best. There's a lot of answers to it, and I feel like it's not proactive enough to be able to win games on its own. Like the win cons aren't there. So like I just mulliganing for against Wardhaven. I kept the Annangrea and the Penelope and the Stormy Blast just for early removal. Like if they play Shredda on 2, I have the Stormy Blast to answer that immediately. Penelope is just good as a 2-drop option, and then against Wardhaven, coining out Annangrea on turn 4, it's kind of hard for them to deal with as well. So that's why I kept that. And then, ooh, the new you can take a look at the new replay UI here. It's very nice. Let me speed things up a little bit, I guess. So yeah, sending away the Odin because it's just too late of a play, obviously. And the 2-drop Astrologer was just like, it's a good time to play it. And then you turn out the Penelope as well. I decided to coin out a 2-drop rather than saving it for the Annangrea because I just wanted to get some early aggression in, right? But that might have ended up being a mistake because Shredda plus the shield ended up taking out one of my 2-drops, and this ends up being a really awkward next turn for me unless I draw something good, right? And I did not really draw anything good, so this has to be a Stormy Blast into a trade. Kind of regretting my decision not to save my extra play point for Annangrea now, because now my turn forward is looking kind of weird. I mean, thankfully I drew the Enchanting Perfumer, which does just free clear this, so like that was pretty lucky on that front. And then I have turn 5 Annangrea, turn 6 Annangrea, or I can even coin into an Odin or a Kuon depending on what I need. So I'm feeling pretty okay in this matchup right now. I'm thinking about how do I want to handle Wilbert and how do I want to handle specifically Ether, right? Well, the good news is against Wilbert, Odin is the best answer. You just banish the Willy and go face. And then the Ether board is kind of interesting, but one thing you can do is you can Norman Barrier up, and then the Ether spends their entire turn trading into you. So they don't actually really get that much benefit from that Ether, and then you can clear on the turn after. So anyway, Annangrea is just the best play here, obviously, because it's a ward that blocks my other guys. And I evolved the Enchanting Perfumer even without a target on board because it lets me gain a stack and push damage face. And I know that, like, if I let them go on forever, I might get out-grinded. So I didn't know exactly what decklist he was running, right? This was not an open decklist tournament. So he could have been playing the more storm-oriented version that was popular a little earlier on, or the more controlling variant that was more popular now. So I didn't know, but I wanted to push the damage in just to make sure that I had an out. Like, I didn't want this game to last forever if he was the grindy version, so I had an out into an Odin or a Kuon end game without it being like, you know, out of reach for me. And I also know that Wardhaven, despite being Havencraft, does not have that much healing because they don't run Censor or anything like that. So most of the damage I land is going to be permanent, which is why I felt pretty okay just evolving for damage here. Because like they have Salefa and that's pretty much it. So go ahead and ram in, and that's just an easy lethal with the Odin. Very thankful that I evolved the guy earlier to make that end game possible. But of course, it's a best of 3 match, right? So we're going into the second game here against Havencraft. I think my game plan is basically the same after seeing the list a little bit. Just like try not to make the game last forever. Make sure I have tools to deal with their board if they have it. Always trying to get Norman in the opening hand just because he's straight up your most important card. Witch's New Brew is the best turn 1 play, obviously, but then we get into a Penelope. And then I have the Sagelight Teachings, so in case they Wilbert and I don't have Odin, I can clear the Wilbert into a Sagelight Teachings clear on the Holy Cavalier, so that's also an option for me in this game. It's all the things that I'm thinking about, right? They do run the Pact of the Beast Princess still in this list, so that tells me a lot. This is not the grindy version of the list that's been getting more popular earlier. This is a bit of an earlier version of the list. Go ahead and play the Melvi with the Witch's New Brew, try to dig through my deck a little bit. Like, I would like to not spend my Earthright for Sagelight Teachings if I can help it, so if I can find an Odin, that would be fantastic. This is not as good as it was the last game for him because I am going first this time, meaning I do have access to the Enchanting Perfumer just to answer this immediately without having to sink any, you know, of my followers into it, and I can push the damage face here. Next turn, I also have Juno, which is fantastic, meaning that I can start getting up just an army of wards. Like, they're Wardhaven, but I'm also playing wards, baby. That's the beauty of it. So I think this is just an easy Juno slam. Just to clear both followers here. The barrier of the Shield Maiden was removed, and now I'm the ward deck, right? So, and like, I'm very happy with my hand because I have 2 Normans and 4 stacks, so I can next turn Norman evolve, get all the abilities, and then the turn after, which is New Brew, Norman evolve and get all the abilities as well. Now this Wilbert is a problem, and this is sort of why I was like, what do I kind of do about it? But I ended up going Witch's New Brew here first into a Juno just because it was a more efficient clear. And this also is a little bit awkward because to full clear I do have to evolve, so I ended up not doing it and just like letting my ward do the work. Unfortunately, this did get countered by Salefa, but I'm not too upset about it because if you look at the evolve point count, he's already down to 1 Super Evo only, answering my threats, and I have 3 evolves still on play, or still in play rather. So this is the Norman turn, best card in the whole dang game. Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but in the class certainly, and I think in the set as well. And I did sink the Super Evolve into him, even though he does have an evolve available, just because it's a really efficient clear on the Salefa, and this is super annoying now. His board is clogged with the Pact of the Beast Princess and this 2/4 on field, which he can't get rid of because my wards are 3/3 boss stat line, so his Ether ends up being really bad if he plays Ether here. So I saw that opportunity to just like be able to swing the game entirely my way here. And now with the Earth Rites, I can go ahead and do a full clear, trade well, not even trade, right? Just use the Enchanting Perfumer here and then go all face. And I think I even, yeah, I aggressively evolve here just like to make sure that this game does not last a long time. And like, even if he ethers here, like, what is it really going to do? The 4/4 can't be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like he has to spend his entire turn just yawning to make sure that he doesn't die. And the Ether wouldn't have been good either because it wouldn't have cleared. And this basically puts him into a checkmate situation because now with Odin in hand, it's a really easy victory. Just banish the Jean, go face. And that was the first round. Very fun game. I don't think the player played poorly. I think the player was quite good and he didn't make any really mistakes, but the deck is just not equipped. If you're enjoying the video so far, do be sure to subscribe. It really does help the channel out. Even if you think you're subscribed, you might not be because of YouTube shenanigans, so I'd really appreciate it if you could double check. The second match of the tournament was against Artifact Portalcraft, and I was very nervous because Artifact Portalcraft I think is one of the best decks in the entire format, but I do think that this deck has tools to deal with it, like a big wide board with the Norman requires double gamma, also prevents the masterwork from hitting face, and you know, if I aggress early enough while they're doing their setup turns with like Miriam and Catapult, that also puts them a little on the back foot, although of course they could just catapult out a gamma to restore that. It's a hard one. Artifact Portal is very good, but I still think I had the ways to maneuver around it if I played smart. They go ahead and Stream of Life my Penelope, and with the Carnelia on board, I felt like I kind of had to just get rid of it as soon as possible, because if this ends up, you know, staying up, it makes their like cheating out 5 play points out of their hand good forever, and I'm like, no, can't have that. So I had to clear that while still having like the opportunity for me on my turn 4 to coin out Anne and Greya if I wanted to. I didn't end up having to though, thankfully, because their hand was pretty bad. Well, not bad, but pretty not proactive. That being said, I still do it. Why? Because it represents aggression that they potentially can't handle. Anne and Greya is a 4/4. They can't clear it with Gamma. They ended up having no answers to it, so I was just like, okay, let's do it again. And the thing with the Anne and Greya play is because I saw Bullet come out the turn before, I felt it was way less likely for them to have an answer for my single Anne and Greya, so I felt pretty safe in that play as well. And this, of course, represents 6 damage straight to the dome. Then they end up Karula-ing here, but again, they had to Karula a Striker just to clear my 6/6 Anne and Greya. This game is going incredibly well for me, and here I'm just like, okay, well, that seems good. Let's just go ahead and coin out Kuon for even more ward, even more damage, because I saw them have such a hard time dealing with it last turn. Why not just do it again? So, to be honest, the Earth Rite didn't really play a part in this match. I kind of just got hard carried by the quality of Anne and Greya and Kuon, who are just, like, individually some of the best cards ever. I was kind of surprised to see that he was still running Sylvia, although I will say, it is sort of making a comeback. I saw a lot of lists cutting the Sylvia earlier, but you know, this is like the best card in the matchup against me specifically, so I was like, okay, that's fair. In the end, I just go ahead and Kuon again, which lets me push another 8 damage here, bringing him down to 2. Now I have a full out with Odin, even if he heals with Alpha. Alpha brings him back up to 5. Odin plus Evolve is 6 damage. He ends up going Ralmia here, and the Ralmia was pretty underwhelming. Only a beta and a striker. So, very, you know, it can clear, but it's like pretty easy to handle on my end, and it doesn't really win him the game or anything. So I just go ahead and click the draw 3 cards option because my hand is running a little low here, and I'm looking for win cons like Odin, etc. I didn't end up getting it, unfortunately, so I go ahead and heal 4. I leave the Ralmia on board because it's fine, whatever, who cares? And I also end up playing the Melvi just to give me the Witch's Brew so I can continue trying to draw for Odin to end this game, especially since I didn't see him have Alpha. I mean, he can make Alpha here, and then Alpha would bring him out of lethal range now because I'm out of my evolve points, but so, you know, this still isn't a 1 game. It's still pretty tough. That being said, he does end up going for Gamma just to clear my board. Otherwise, it was kind of hard for him to. I mean, I guess he could have gone for Alpha, traded the Ralmia, but then he wouldn't be pushing damage either that way. So it was kind of a tough decision for him. For me, this is also tough because I'm trying to figure out how I clear this. The double Edelweiss ends up putting in all the work in the world. And plus the Enchanting Perfumer, it is a full clear. They have 1 evolve point left. I know they have a Gamma and a Beta, but I don't think they have enough to generate Alpha, so I'm not worried about Masterwork here. They end up going for Karula, Gamma, plus double Carnelia just to present a wide board because they saw me invest so much of my Earth Rite trying to kill their board with double Edelweiss. I predict that his idea was that, oh, I'll just do it again and make it really hard for him. Thankfully, Sage Light Teachings comes and saves the day, but like this game is really close now, and I feel like it's anybody's game at this point. In fact, I feel kind of on the back foot because if he just makes a generator, like here, the next turn he'll be able to Masterwork. So I have to end the game before he can Masterwork, right? That's the entire idea. Out comes Beta and Fortifier, which kind of broke my heart. That being said, it doesn't matter because Odin can take out Fortifier. If it was double Fortifier, I would have just been cooked. But off the top comes my hero, the Odin that I was digging for that entire time. 3 Odin, bottom 19, still made it out. Thank you to Earth Rite for having such a good draw. Now, I was nervous going into the second game of this best of 3 because Artifact Portalcraft is one of the most flexible decks in the entire game. And in a best of 3 format, your opponent can adapt to what you were doing, right? They can change their entire game plan on a whim. He saw, okay, I didn't make Alpha that game and that lost me the game. Let's make Alpha, or maybe I should make more Betas, or maybe I should make more Gammas. It's so flexible that they can adjust their game plan according to what their opponent does. So going into the second game, I was a little nervous. I saw the Norman in the opening hand though, and I was like, pretty good. We'll keep that. We love that. Our King Norman. And I was kind of worried about early aggression, so I ended up extra play pointing out the Stormy Blast there. I think that might have been a mistake. So my thought process was that because I have Enchanting Perfumer in hand already, I don't need to coin out Annengrea. So I could spend my turn 4 enchanting plus evolve to full clear, and then turn 5 Annengrea, turn 6 Norman, and I don't need to use the coin for anything else. So, but that might have been a mistake because if I don't coin out Annengrea, it's also like less powerful, and I saw that coining out Annengrea was good in the last game, so, you know, maybe this was a miscalculation on my part, but, you know, I'm sticking to what I did here with the Perfumer, Evolve to clear both bodies, present 7 threat on board, and, you know, hope that they don't have an efficient answer to this is kind of the thinking there. Unfortunately, with the Gear of Remembrance fuse into Fortifier, Striker, into that, they get a Gamma, and then of course the Alouette comes down, the bane of my existence. I saw this and I was like, alright, this game might end up going significantly differently than the first game. Like, I didn't see Alouette in that first game at all. Seeing it on curve here kind of broke my heart. I was like, oh no. Of course, the Juno does full clear while presenting threat, so that was my best play here other than the Annengrea. And also, I like getting the crest up as early as possible so that I always get the benefit over the course of the game as early as possible, because in the late game it becomes way less impactful. I saw the second Alouette here and I was like, man, really not making this easy for me. So yeah, that's also a tough one to have to swallow. So I ended up going with the Ignideus here because of course it's also going to be boosting my Stormy Blast, which is quite nice. So I get to clear the Gamma here. Unfortunately, I'm already spending my Super Evolve, which is a bit of a bummer, because the Super Evolve I want to be saving for stuff like Kuon or Lilanthem. So having to use it reactively rather than proactively here is like, this is a way different game from the first game. I'm continually on the back foot here, and they end up full clearing me. I think, okay, how can I win this? Maybe I just extra play point the Lilanthem, it sticks, and then I can go for an Odin endgame. But they have the Orcus, which is the best answer to Lilanthem, because just those little puppets can just clear my Lilanthem and waste all of my Earth Rite, which makes all of my subsequent plays significantly worse. So you see here, he's sacrificing the face damage just to ruin my entire game plan. A very worthy trade for him. And I'm sitting here like, okay, this sucks. I don't know what to do. So I go ahead and evolve the Penelope to heal and draw a little bit, trying to find an out. The only really good answer is to use the Sage Light to clear and then Melvie to restore my stacks a little bit, but that's still pretty bad. I have 2 Normans in hand that I can't evolve. I have a Lilanthem in hand that is just going to be an 8play.55 stick that doesn't actually do anything. He's building up towards Masterwork. I don't really have a way out of this. The third Alouette comes down. This is the point where, like, I think I'm cooked, man. like, I don't think anybody's ever been as cooked as me in this moment. Like, this is so horrendous. So I'm like, what do I do? The Juno can clear the beta, that's fine, but like Stormy Blast, double Stormy Blast to kill the Alouette, I guess. And remember, like that second Stormy Blast was 6, so that wouldn't have cleared it either in just one go. So I had to sink both in. Out comes a Gamma again out of Catapult. Double Ironheart. He's generating plenty of gears for a Masterwork endgame, and I'm thinking it's over. So I just play out the Kuon, try and get a ward up so that Masterwork doesn't go straight to the dome, knowing that two of the Ironhearts, what are they called? Ironheart Hunter can't clear the 10-10. He ends up just playing 2 strikers to clear, plus a bullet, so he generates even more gears anyway. And I'm like, all right, there's actually no way to win. Like, I could have enchantinged into Norman there, I suppose, but that doesn't win me the game at all, because if I leave even one Ironheart up, it's kind of tough into a Masterwork in the end game. So I just tried to go for a bit of heal to not die, but I think that was a mistake. If I made a Guardian Golem instead, that might have just been better, prevent the thing from going face entirely maybe, but not even really, because if I just did that, like he just trades the Ironheart, then plays the, because I leave 1/2/2 up if I go for a Golem there, and then I still take 10 to the dome. So yeah, it's like, it's over, man. Like, I can't do anything about this, it's GG. And he wins the second game. It all comes down to this, who is going to win? I end up going second, which is all right. I keep most of my hand here. Stormy Blast can help me deal with like early game Ironhearts. Penelope generates the most stack per card. And with Enchanting Perfumer in hand, I can take out an Alouette on their turn, or if they just like double 2-drop on turn 4 or something. So I'm like, this is fine. And I didn't want to get too greedy, because I have had games where I get too greedy in my mulligan and I end up drawing all my Odins and Kuons and stuff, and then I have no early game and then I lose. So I was like, okay, let's play it a little bit safe, especially since this is the last game of the set, and whoever wins this is the one who's going to be moving on to the final table. So yeah, with the double Perfumer keep, I'm able to use the extra play point on Perfumer to clear the Miriam, and I still have the Perfumer next turn with Evolve to clear whatever comes next. He ends up playing Catapult and this guy, and doesn't clear my Perfumer, which is so good for me. It means that I don't have to play my Perfumer, and I can instead evolve my existing Perfumer to not only gain stack, but also gain aggressive tempo here and push 5 to the dome. So strong. And of course I also engage my amulet as well, up to 6 stacks now, and I still have the option of Perfumer plus Stormy Blast next turn to clear pretty much anything. This is going to be a Gamma no matter what to full clear my board, but Perfumer will full clear Gamma even without a Stormy Blast in, what's the word I'm looking for? A Stormy Blast commitment. So yeah, sure. So then this comes out, double clears, and I can engage if I want to. But I decided to Stormy Blast anyway because I saw how Evo starved I was last game in the end game, and I was like, okay, this game is probably going to be a grinder if he's adapting to my plays that well. So I'm like, I'm going to save my Evos as much as possible, especially since with Norman, because his effect activates on Evolve, it actually feels kind of bad to do Super Evolve on Norman. So I'm like, okay, I'll just use the regular Evolve on Norman and save my Super Evolves for, you know, Kuons that are already in my hand, for example. The second Stormy Blast is going to go ahead and clear that Gamma and go ahead and run the Norman into there. My next turn I have Kuon if I need it. If I don't need it, I can save it for a turn 10. So I'm feeling a little better in this match than I was the last match, certainly, even though they had Alouette. I think I sort of pivoted my play a little better, and my opening hand was better too. They ended up just getting a Karula Gamma once more. I'm like, alright, what's the best way to deal with this? I could just Sage Light full clear, and I do. But then also with my remaining 3, I guess Penelope plus Engage, build my stack count back up in case I draw into Lanthem next turn and I want to hard slam it. The other option was Apprentice Astrologer to try and draw into something like an Odin for aggressive pressure, but I think building up the stacks with Penelope is probably better there most of the time. So then here comes the Karula. They ended up evolving the Carnelia as well, giving the beta barrier, I mean not barrier, ward and can't be destroyed. And that sucked, but thankfully with Edelweiss, this is an easy clear without having to sink any evolve points. And I get to build up my stacks yet again. And I will just go ahead and heal as well, because little worried about the beta with ward there that I saw out of that last turn, especially now going into turn 8. Ralmia gets Gamma and beta, another bit of burn from them. The Edelweiss top deck is nice for a potential next turn, but I felt like I had to sink the Kuon here because it is an efficient clear while pushing 5 face. And I get to at least not spend my stack, build it up by 1 here, up to 7 again. So I get some resources back with the Astrologer. Send the Edelweiss away because I want to save the Kuon for a turn 10 lethal, obviously, if he doesn't heal this turn. But I also wanted the option of potentially drawing Lanthem or Odin if that endgame suited better as well. He ends up just going for double Gamma to full clear, but that means that he was not able to heal, and that means the Kuon is just going to be full lethal here on turn 10. And that was a tough set. That was a very tough set, but I ended up coming out on top, and it was a very satisfying finish. Bam. Next round was against Aggro Abysscraft, which is definitely one of the best decks on the ladder at the moment. Certainly, it's one of the best decks in the meta, I think, at the moment too, because it has a really good matchup against Spell Boost Rune. But unfortunately for my opponent, I'm not playing Spell Boost Rune. I'm playing Earth Rite, baby. So I have way more tools to deal with Aggro Abyss, although it is still a pretty scary matchup because of the sheer amount of burn damage they have. The good news is, with my Earth Rite deck, I have so many more wards, and I have a lot of healing as well. That's also true of Spell Boost if they, you know, get a right roll, but Spell Boost has a lot less early game tools, unless they're teching in like the 2-drops from Earth Rite package, right? So here, they're just going straight to face. I mean, pretty obvious play from them there. I'm gonna play the Witch's New Brew, see what I get first, and then Melvy. I'm very happy to see the Enchanting Perfumer here, because that means I have just a fanfare to remove one of their threats next turn. And I chose to remove the bat here, because I was predicting them to just go double face with everything, so that way my 2-1 Melvy can efficiently trade with a 2-2. Unfortunately, the Ghost ended up, you know, scuttling my plans there a little bit, but my game plan here doesn't change. Just Enchanting Perfumer, kill the Mummy, and then the Melvy into the bat, make sure that he doesn't get that, you know, forever healing, right? And I'm not feeling too stressed out right now because I do have Norman in my hand, which lets me present either 2 wards that they have to go through or 2 heals, which is like 8 healing. So I'm still not super on the back foot here. I'm still feeling kind of okay. This is like an easy Juno here, right? Clear 2 bodies and get a ward up, making it a little more awkward for them. Obviously, they could still just Aragavi evolve, but the Juno crest lasts 3 turns, so that also gives me some insurance that if I go for Norman heal the next turn, I'll still have a ward up in the way to block some of the damage from board. They ended up not having Aragavi, thank goodness. Kind of rare for Abyss not to have Aragavi on 5, but this does mean my 5-3 sticks, and now I can Witch's Brew. I didn't want to play Norman here just yet, just because I didn't have the 2 stacks for the Norman to fully capitalize, and the Edelweiss is a very efficient clear here. If I Stormy Blast into the 4-1, the Edelweiss can then trade into the 4-2, and then I just play Witch's Brew and then engage the stack. And then now I'm ready for a Norman next turn. I can engage plus Norman next turn, right? Also, I ended up trading the Juno just because I'm scared of every little bit of damage, especially because of Excella, who just comes out here. Remember that Excella scales herself based on what's on their board as well. So every damage I leave up on board is not only damage represented by that follower, but also additional burn damage from the Excella. So, or burst damage, I should say, not burn. But yes, that was a consideration for me. And here my play is exactly what I thought it would be, which is Norman double heal. Kinda have to against this deck. The crazy thing is, even against Aggro Blood, or sorry, Aggro Abyss, it just feels more like a Blood deck in Shadowverse 1 parlance, is that even with so much healing available to you in the deck, it's still kind of close, like the amount of damage they have, and they have a surprising amount of sustain too, because they're able to super evolve a bat, which we're gonna see right here actually. Super evolving a bat lets them heal and make the game actually surprisingly longer, even though they're an aggro deck. That being said, they don't really have an efficient way to clear this Norman, so the 8-8 ends up sticking, and thankfully for me, Lilanthem is a full clear here while presenting an aura body that can't be targeted by Reaper's Death Slash, which is a consideration I had, especially after seeing one played on the Excella to clear my ward the previous turn. So now this Lilanthem has very low odds of being cleared. He has no evolve points, Reaper's Death Slash doesn't work, and so he just passes to concede, and we win the game off of that. Once again though, it is a best of 3, so we are going into the second match of the set. I'm feeling pretty good about that early win, but that being said, remember, they didn't get Aragavi on 5 that game, and they didn't show any Rage of Serpents that game either. So, like, I'm aware that if they're a little luckier, they might have the advantage, especially knowing that this round, or this game, I'm going second, which is significantly worse against Aggro Abyss, because they always want to have the play point advantage and the tempo. They're always the one who's trying to be the aggressor, so them being first is a huge advantage for them, and like already, I'm feeling like I'm on the back foot. I mean, I can like extra play point out the Enchanting Perfumer here, but if I clear the Bone Mancer, they can Excella turn 4 go face, so I chose not to in the end, but this is representing damage that's always on field that I can't really do anything about at the moment. Thankfully, I am able to just Enchanting Perfumer and get rid of most of the bodies here. Another thing I was considering was to trade the 2-2 and then just Sage Light to clear the entire board, but I kind of felt like if I didn't present any threat, they could just keep ignoring me and keep doing burn on me with out of hand damage. So I did feel like I had to present some threat here. Unfortunately, they did have the Aragavi this turn, and I was like, okay, this is going very, very poorly now, especially since I don't have an efficient clear into the 6-5 now. So that previous turn might have ended up being a mistake. Like, if I had to do it over again, like, obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, it was better to do the Sage Light first and then save the enchanting for a potential gravy play, especially since I didn't have Anne and Greya in hand. So that's, I think, a mistake on my part for sure. And that gave him the tempo anyway, which is the one thing that I was trying to prevent. I ended up handing right to him, right? So that was pretty rough. And now he has this zombie on board, which I'm finding kind of hard to deal with. So I think I wanted to present a ward board while also still presenting threat. So I wanted to use the extra play point into Kuo in here in order to do so. This gets me my my 4/5 with Storm and a ward up. That being said, this is very easily answered by Olivia, which is pretty tough. In the end, he does have Aragavi again, which is not quite Olivia, but it might even be worse because it's 3 burn damage to my face plus the extra 1 from the trade on Aragavi's super. And he ended up having the Cultivator of Malice and an additional body as well, just to flood the board with. If I don't full clear this, I insta-die to Excella, and I just don't have that many options to do so right now. Like, I can Sage Light, but it's like, it feels really bad. The thing is, I kind of like panic super evolve the Penelope to try and heal just a little bit more, to try and clear this board, but I know that the malicious manifester, or whatever her name is, Cultivator of Malice, is gonna put a ghost in her hand, and so yeah, Odin plus ghost was just curtains for me. I think I played that early game a little incorrectly. Like, if I had a more efficient clear on the Aragavi, maybe, but their amount of burn was just so prescient this game, and with no Norman, it was a lot harder to win this one, and I ended up losing just by a hair. So the last match, this was where I started to get really nervous, because the winner of this game would determine who won the entire tournament. So it was a little nerve-wracking, and I kind of did really want that prize. So I'm just saying, I saw Norman in the opening. I keep him 100% of the time, and I was very relieved to go first in this match, because like I saw on that last match, going second really just lost me the entire game. So going first is a really big benefit for me. I was very upset to see double quadruple bats. So that was kind of tough, but with Enchanting Perfumer and Anne and Greya in hand, I felt a lot more safe. That being said, I am still trading every single chance I get if I can trade while keeping value, which is exactly what happened here. He goes face with 2, hits for 2 with the Vuela, which is just an insane card, by the way. Thankfully, of course, Enchanting Perfumer can come out and clear the Vuela no problem, and I do still get, you know, freaking 4 to the face here at the best of times, unfortunately. And it was even worse than that because they had the Excella. And of course, with the Excella dealing damage to face, it doesn't even matter because the bats are just going to heal that back. So he has no downside, and I go down all the way down to 9 on turn 4. I'm like, okay, Anne and Greya must come out here. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because you would think that trading the 5/5 that's going to die next turn anyway, but no, I wanted to keep the ward up no matter what. I felt like I had to, in case they had another Excella in hand. The Gravy does come out here, and he is still going to evolve it anyway, just to deal the burn. And it's such a benefit for him because he doesn't even have to trade to the 5/5. He just like wait for it to go. Thank God Norman was in my opening hand, because he's just gonna single-handedly heal me 8 in 1 card. Fair and balanced, by the way. And that gets me all the way back up to 14, which I desperately needed. So I'm still in this. We're now even on life total. The Vuela does come out alongside the Winged Serpents, which is kind of tough because this presents a 4/4 Vuela on board and 6 healing for him. So he's all the way back up to 20, and he gets the additional draw engine from targeting the super evolve that of course doesn't get destroyed. And this is kind of awkward because Juno doesn't full clear, this also doesn't full clear. I just had to sink the super on Enchanting Perfumer to deal with it as much as I could. I could Sage Light here, but I decided to Sage Light for heal instead because I just felt like he was gonna have so much burn that I need all the heal I can get. The Odin comes out, of course, no surprise there, and that represents another 5 damage. I believe he's probably saving the super for a potential, like, gosh, what's it called? Olivia? in case he has to answer my board if I had another Norman. But I decided to super evolve the Penelope just for a little additional healing. Like, that's how dire I felt like it was. And then the Enchanting Perfumer as well, just to increase my stack by a little bit here. And then 5/5 to here. And then I have the Juno to clear an Olivia or whatever big follower comes out next. Gravy comes out yet again with a little bit of Bonemancer, and he is going to evolve the Gravy in the end to deal another 3 burn. By the way, I healed 12 this match, and I'm still less life total. Like, the amount of burn that this guy has is insane. And I'm like, in my mind, I wanted to Odin the Bonemancer, but I felt like there was no option for me to do that because, like, I just cannot leave that other guy up. Unfortunately, because the Bonemancer stayed alive, this opens him up to a Reaper's Death Slash Mummy Excella play, which was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm all the way back down to 2 defense. All right, so if I don't clear this, I'm cooked. Thankfully, the Edelweiss comes out, letting me clear all of it. But remember, if he has Rage of Serpents off the top deck, I just lose. And remember, I healed 12 this game. Thankfully, it wasn't Rage of Serpents, it was Aragami. I'm still in the game. This doesn't even clear the ward. I mean, it does with the Ghost, but that also represents a little less burn on his side. He's still trying to top deck, and I top deck Sage Light Teachings, which puts me up to 6, and I know there's not a single card in his deck that can deal 6 damage on its own. The highest is Odin with 4, and it's Odin, and it just healed me out of range. Crazy work. He's forced to trade the Odin to not die. I get to play my Odin, and I win the tournament. So close, my hands were shaking, knees weak, arms spaghetti or whatever. Crazy game. And that's how I won the tournament, and in turn, how I won almost $200 with Earth Rite Rune. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, then you're sure to enjoy the one on screen right now. Mid-range / control, whatever you want to call it, Abysscraft.